The transport ship Meridian's Edge hummed through the void between Kepler 442b and the Sol system, its fusion drives pushing against the fabric of spacetime at 0.3 C. In the diplomatic quarters, Ambassador Thrazik of the Draconian Confederacy paced in growing desperation, her iridescent scales reflecting the cold white light of the corridor. Her infant, barely 3 lunar cycles old, wailed with a sound that pierced through even the ship's acoustic dampening fields. James Corrigan wiped grease from his hands as he emerged from the engine maintenance shaft on Deck 7. The chief mechanic had spent the last 6 hours recalibrating the antimatter containment fields, tedious work that required absolute precision. As he walked toward the crew quarters, the crying echoed through the ventilation system, a haunting sound that seemed to resonate at a frequency that made his teeth ache. "Third day straight," muttered Liana Park, the ship's xenobiologist, as she fell into step beside him. Her dark eyes were ringed with exhaustion. "The medical team can't figure it out. The infant's vitals are perfect. Oxygen saturation at 98%. Neural activity normal for draconian development. No signs of distress beyond the vocalization." James frowned. "And the ambassador?" "Breaking down. Draconians bond with their offspring through electromagnetic resonance patterns. When the baby cries like this, it's broadcasting distress on frequencies we can barely detect, but Thrazik feels every second of it." Liana pulled up a holographic display from her wrist unit, showing wavelengths that spiked in sharp, irregular patterns. "We've tried everything, adjusted the environmental controls, modified the atmospheric composition, even brought in a draconian physician from stasis. Nothing works." The crying grew louder as they approached the diplomatic section. Through the transparent aluminum viewport, James could see Ambassador Thrazik cradling her child, her massive form hunched over protectively. The baby's scales hadn't fully hardened yet, showing patches of soft, translucent membrane that pulsed with bioluminescent distress signals. Captain Rodriguez stood outside the sealed door, her expression grim. "Dr. Park, Mr. Corrigan." She acknowledged them with a nod. "This is becoming a crisis. The ambassador is threatening to file a formal complaint with the Interstellar Council. She's saying we're incapable of providing adequate conditions for her species." James studied the viewport, his engineer's mind automatically cataloging details. The room's temperature read 312 Kelvin, standard for draconians. Humidity at 45%. Atmospheric pressure at 1.3 atmospheres with elevated carbon dioxide levels. Everything matched the specifications exactly. Then he noticed something. "Captain, what's the magnetic field strength in that compartment?" Liana pulled up the data. 0.003 Teslas, standard shipboard levels. "What's it like on their home world?" Liana's fingers moved across her display, accessing the xenobiology database. Her eyes widened. 0.08 Teslas, nearly 30 times stronger than Earth's magnetic field. She looked up sharply. "The baby evolved to develop in a high magnetic environment. And we've got them in what's essentially a magnetic void," James finished. "Their neural development depends on external field stimulation. Without it, the infant's experiencing sensory deprivation," Liana said, already moving toward the door. "That's why our scans showed nothing wrong physically. The distress is neurological." Captain Rodriguez activated her comm. "Engineering, this is the bridge. I need a localized magnetic field generator delivered to the diplomatic quarters immediately." "Captain," James interjected, "that'll take hours to fabricate and calibrate. I might have a faster solution." He sprinted toward the engine room, his magnetic boots clanking against the deck plating. Liana followed, her curiosity overriding her exhaustion. James dove into a storage locker and emerged with what looked like a tangle of superconducting cable and a portable power cell. "Emergency field coil," he explained, already connecting leads with practiced efficiency. We use these to generate localized magnetic fields for testing equipment. If I reconfigure the output parameters, his hands moved with mechanical precision, adjusting voltage regulators and frequency modulators. 15 minutes later, James stood outside the diplomatic quarters with his improvised device. The ambassador had reluctantly agreed to let him try, though her posture radiated skepticism. Her translator collar converted her clicks and whistles into flat, emotionless English. "Human technology has already failed my child." "This isn't about technology, Ambassador," James said quietly. "It's about understanding what your baby needs to feel safe." He activated the field coil. The device hummed, generating a carefully modulated magnetic field that spread through the room at 0.078 teslas, close enough to draconian homeworld conditions. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crying stopped. The silence was so sudden, so complete, that everyone froze. Through the viewport, they watched as the infant's bioluminescent patches shifted from agitated red to calm blue. The baby's electromagnetic emissions, visible on Liana's scanner, smoothed into gentle, rhythmic waves. Ambassador Thorazic's translator struggled to convey her emotion. You gave my child the sky." James blinked, confused. Liana whispered, "Draconians navigate by magnetic fields. To them, the field isn't just environmental. It's how they perceive space, direction, their place in the universe. Without it, the baby was effectively blind and lost." The ambassador approached the viewport, her massive claw resting against the transparent surface. "I have misjudged your species, James Corrigan. You saw what our own physicians could not. That sometimes the simplest needs are the hardest to recognize when you're too close to the problem." The infant cooed, a sound like wind chimes in a thunderstorm, and settled into peaceful sleep against its mother's chest. Captain Rodriguez let out a breath she'd been holding for 3 days. "Mr. Corrigan, remind me to put you up for a commendation. Dr. Park, work with engineering to install permanent field generators in all Draconian-designated quarters." As they walked away, Liana nudged James with her elbow. "Not bad for a grease monkey." James smiled, wiping his hands on his already stained coveralls. Sometimes fixing things isn't about having the fanciest tools. It's about knowing what needs to be fixed. Behind them, the transport ship continued its journey through the stars, carrying its precious cargo of diplomats, scientists, and one very content draconian infant who finally felt at home.